The formation lap sort of halfway over now as they wind their way round a 2.7 kilometre circuit with 10 turns, 6 of them first gear or second gear out of 5. 60% of this circuit is in fourth gear or lower, and the Maseratis, which looked ominously strong before the Celine was sent to the back of the grid, now looks stronger still.
There we are.
There's the 18 car waiting in pit lane that Graham was looking for, just hidden behind the wall, waiting for the traffic lights to say that the start has occurred and he can join the tail end of the Crocodile as they go banging into turn 1 at 200 kilometres an hour. We're in the number 1 car here with Andrea Bertolini. That's a rear view of the Wiesmann GT. Goes left here, that's the outside wall of the circuit. On the other side of that is the road. Back up now, there is the pit building, framed against the sunset. The leading car pulls into pit lane. Bertolini is in charge of the start. He'll come round the corner at a steady 60 miles an hour, and then when the signal goes, he'll put the hammer down. Look at the red lights over the track. Here they come, 22 cars, $20 million. Best part of 20,000 horsepower is suddenly unleashed at Adria, and it is Maserati from Maserati, 5 wide into turn 1. Looks like a clean getaway for everybody.
Thus far, just running wide there, the Matek Baz Linders, not Matek, rather the VDS Racing 4 GT running wide, Baz Linders at the wheel, but the Maseratis show a clean pair of heels to everybody out of turn 1 and carry on. Xavier Marson in the number 19 car is still holding third place.
Ryan Sharp's dived into pit lane, and I just wonder if that's allowed. We were talking about that at the start, and we said that's what Stuart Roden did, and they pulled the regulations out and had a read of them and changed that rule so that you couldn't swap drivers this early in the race, and it's a problem. It's not a tactical call. He's in the pit lane with some kind of difficulty on that car.
Huge
that
disappointment.
is a terrible shame, isn't it? We were looking forward to the spectacle of seeing that cut its way through the field, but it doesn't look as if it's going to happen. Maserati's first and second in team order. I notice Alex Muller has done exactly what he did at Silverstone and tucked in right behind the number 1 car, keeping station. And as you say, Graham, that's 19 behind. And I'm not sure who started the number. It's Kumpen, of course. I saw him get in the Corvette, just about to be passed and giving up the place, or is he? He's not. He's hanging on to it. He's forced right off the edge.
Monfardini pushing him very wide indeed, and the pair of them almost losing this place to James Routhier in the SRT car. That's him in the white car with the black bonnet, just nibbling at the rear end of Anthony Kumpen's yellow and white Corvette. But in the meantime, Monfardini in the number 13 Full Speed Racing Celine keeps abreast of both of them. In GT2, Martin Ragginger has got his way past Thomas Biaggi, and it leads the class from Richard Westbrook and Tim Mullen from CRS Racing in third.
And a very racy looking Richard Westbrook it is indeed. Richard Westbrook comes up to speed as soon as those lights go green, doesn't he? He's right on it, and I wonder if the young and relatively inexperienced Martin Ragginger might take a little bit longer to bring himself up to race temperature, and Richard Westbrook might use that opportunity just to snap him up and grab the lead. He's right in his wheel track, but of course the Pro Speed car dragging ballast for being so successful at Silverstone.
Yeah, 20 kilos of success and 50 kilos just because they've got Collard and Westbrook in that car. 2 platinum rated drivers in that car means 50 kilos penalty to start with, so 70 k's the difference between the 2 Porsches, first and second in class. Biaggi's already made his way back past Martin Ragginger, and we're looking at the battle between the Ford at the Baz Linders and Stefan Lemaire in the other Full Speed Celine ahead of him.
The number 11 car, that is, with Belgian journalist Stefan Lemaire, looking more like a racing driver every time we see him. Is that smoke from the back end of the CRS car that's not in there? Just a little trail of smoke, might just have been on the brakes there as he was coming into the corner. It's not unusual, but Bruni looking very aggressive behind it. It's doing it again. That is brakes, isn't it?
Yep, I think so. Tim Mullen having to push very hard to keep Jimmy Bruni behind him, and with Cordy making up places as well. There he is, the 2 CRS racing cars sandwiching the AF Corsa car in your picture now. Jimmy Bruni there in 4th place in class.
clouds of dust being kicked up around the circuit. It's fairly normal here, it's very dry, the circuit edges are very dusty, and because of all the excitement we've had with Lamborghinis and GT3s and whatnot, there's a fair amount of cement dust down as well.
Yeah, already a warning out for Monfordini, Ferdinando Monfordini, for that episode we saw where he pushed Kumpen right off the track in overtaking him. Here's the Ferrari battle, two duels almost now, as the 51 AF Corsa car tries to dive down the inside of Andrew Cacordi. Can he do it? No. Cacordi chops his nose off and leaves Nicky Kadei behind for the moment, but it's CRSAF.
And ahead of them, the two Porsches slugging it out, and had no advantage yet for Westbrook, who couldn't make the early pass on Martin Raginget, although he did try. We're in the cockpit of the number 56 car, Andrew Capaldi now.
Yeah, we need the rear-facing camera as much as the forward one. In fact, one down the side, there goes that pass. Nicky Kadei in the AF Corsa number 2 car, car 51, marked on the side, making his way past Andrew Cacordi. Andrew and the team somewhat baffled by their lack of outright pace in these cars, which are beautifully prepared, for some reason just not able to get the ultimate performance from them.
And in fact, there's a fair amount of difference in time, about almost half a second a lap, which is a big chunk here at Adria as we go back on board.
Great shots from inside these cars at this tight, twisty circuit really give you an indication of how hard these drivers are going to have to work over the next couple of hours.
The evening sunset over the circuit, you can see the shadows lengthening and the lights, the headlights on the cars starting to look brighter and brighter. And there's a little bit of Porsche action at the back of the field there, and I think it's not a pass, but it very nearly was.
Yeah, that's Tim Sugden making his way past Marco Holzer in the number 61 car, the second of the Pro Speed cars, and coming up onto the back of Andrew Cacordi. It looked as though he was shaping to make a pass down around the outside of Cacordi there. Can't do that as yet, but the 4 Ferraris ahead of him being caught up by Tim Sugden, sharing with David Ashburn in the track speed car. This is not the car we saw in Silverstone's highlight package. That couldn't be repaired in time. This one has a good substitute and just again unable to get right alongside Andrew Cacordi under braking, but you get the feeling, Richard, that that pass is going to happen.
I think it's inevitable, and here it's so easy to touch bodywork, isn't it, here, and that's undone all the good work that you've done catching up.
Marco Holzer not determined enough quite there. Well, determined certainly, but not able to hold Tim Sugden at bay. Oh, big puff of smoke coming up, and dust as well, I think, from the car as they come through the corner there, out into the sunshine again, and that'll get difficult too with a very low sun right in your eyes.
That's going to be an issue for everybody, but luckily the sun is sinking in the west, as it tends to do, which runs parallel with all of the big straights here, or runs contrary to all the big straights, so it's shining across the long straight. It's only in the corners, unfortunately, they're going to get a glimpse of the sun, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem, except when you're just trying to find that braking point you need.
Yeah, huge amounts of steering wheel input there from Andrew Cacordi, caught on our in-car camera, and up at the sharp end of things, Bertolini and Muller are getting away. Muller actually quicker than Bertolini for the last... Oh! That's Andrew Cacordi having a little moment on his own, or was he helped? Who knows? We might find out from the replay. But what's happened is that the 2 Porsches that were behind him are now both ahead. That's Richard Westbrook coming through picture. Martin Raginga still leads the class. 3rd place goes to Tim Mullen. 4th to Bruni, Nicky Kadei, Tim Sugden and Marco Holzer have both passed Andrew Cacordi. That's the order they're running in. Tim Sugden there in the red and white car, coming under huge pressure from Marco Holzer in the 2nd string Pro Speed car.
In the pit lane, Brian Sharp has got a broken drive shaft in the number 14 Celine, so that'll be the end of their day, I'm afraid, which is a real shame for them and for us as well, because we were really looking forward to that. That was going to be an entertaining part of the next 2 hours proceedings, I'm afraid. We've had a whole clutch of email questions, all of them about next year's World Championship, just about. 1 or 2 exceptions that try and catch up with them, but all of them are interested in what's going to happen next year, specifically with the regulations, which at the moment remain unpublished.
Tim Mullen here at the head of this trio of Ferrari is doing a great job in keeping back the 2 AF Corsa cars behind. Mullen's car still running the Series 3 engine, a couple of iterations behind those in the AF Corsa cars, and doing great work. Here's the leading pair, however, and you can see now just how far Alex Muller has towed up onto the back of Andrea Bertolini. Muller joining the Maserati squad from Jet Alliance Aston Martin.
0.6 of a second, the gap between them. Muller, the fastest man on the track as he caught up with Bertolini. We're with him now. We had this at Silverstone, exactly this. Alex Muller tracked Andrea Bertolini round Silverstone for his opening stint. Never put a foot wrong, and never challenged either. And we speculated a little bit about team orders. This is the last year that the Maseratis will be allowed to take part in this championship. Next year the rules are different. These cars will be excluded. And Michael Bartels would like back-to-back championships, and he might exactly like them for himself and Andrea Bertolini, a complete repeat for the #1 car. And he may well have said to Muller and Ramos, it's my toys, and I make the rules, and I would like to win the title this year, so you will not overtake me, please.
Yep, let's
There's
damage on the number 40 car, VDS Racing, Mark van der Stracken's team from Charleroi in Belgium, and it's either just come unfastened or it's had a bit of encouragement. It looks as though there's been some contact, doesn't it? Didn't catch it on the camera first time through, but who's in close attendance with him?
There was a little bit of to do in turn 4, I think, earlier on, which you spotted, Graham, and I think that would probably be it, but it's definitely got rubber on the front.
Andrea Bertolini responding with his own fastest racetrack lap, just a couple of thousandths quicker than that of Alex Muller. Here is the view from on board Muller. We flip back to the outside. These Maseratis really are fine machines, and it'll be a shame in a way to see the end of the old GT1, but the new GT1 promises to be every bit as exciting. There's Miguel Ramos looking on, Alex Muller's partner.
Muller in second place by less than a second, but look behind him, third place still, Xavier Masson, almost 5 seconds behind now, and lapping almost half a second slower. There is Masson. And there is Monfardini, very much sideways there. And if Anthony Kumpen doesn't get him after that, then he'll be very lucky indeed to have got away with it. And I think he just has hung on to it, hasn't he?
Yep, just about for the moment. Maserati's holding 1-2 over the Corvette. This is a cracking battle, however, with the Celine just about able to hit a replay, looking very wide indeed. And Monfardini already on a sort of yellow card, if you like, for his clash with Anthony Kumpen earlier. Kumpen now having re-established his position right on the bumper of the Celine, wants his way past and wants it quickly. Headlights flashing to try and distract the Celine driver, but Monfardini is not likely to fall for that. Another vicious twitch under braking for turn 1.
Anthony Kumpen, it's just a matter of time before he finds his way past that, or until Monfardini arrives at the scene of the accident. And really Anthony Kumpen doesn't want to be any part of that, so he's got two choices: one, to get past as quickly as he can, and the other one is to stay away until he has the accident by himself. Trying to patch the bodywork up there. You can see it's had a big scrape on the right front, and you can see how flimsy it is. The bonnet has split, and that's a lot tidier out of that corner. But Kumpen worrying him with the headlights again, pressure on, trying to make him make an error, force him into a mistake, but I don't think he needs any help at the moment because he's quite capable of making a mistake on his own.
I was going to say Kumpen looks much tidier and more controlled of these two at the moment. The Celine jumping around very briskly under the brakes and needing a lot of help to get around the corners. Kumpen determined to make his way past as fast as he can because the three ahead are getting away.
This is the other thing, isn't it? Monfardini is holding Kumpen up. Without Monfardini in front of him, Kumpen would be a lot tighter, as you say, a lot neater, and he'd be a lot quicker on the lap. He's doing 1:14.4s, Bertolini 1:13.6. That's the difference. That's what Kumpen is missing at the moment, and that's why he needs to get away from Monfardini, because I think Monfardini is driving his socks off, and whatever happens isn't going to go any faster than this, or he would have done by now. So, and Kumpen just needs to get by, doesn't he?
Yeah, Kumpen sharing the Corvette there with Mike Haseman's last year's winner, but sharing the car on that occasion with Fabrizio Collin. More flashing of headlights, another attempt to have a look up the inside, but this is a demonstration of how tricky this Adria circuit is. You can be as close as this and yet not able to find a place to actually fly past.
In fairness, Monfardini is not the only one who's picking up a bit of dust on the exit of that corner, but he is just a little bit more lurid than everybody else everywhere around this circuit. But so difficult to get a good run at him because just as you're getting into fourth gear on the run down the main straight, just as you think we're getting up to 200 kilometres an hour and we're ready for a pass, you're back on the brakes and going down into second gear for the left turn. Race leader with Muller stuck to his back bumper. Here comes third place, that's the number 19 car, and here comes a very agitated Anthony Kumpen trying to frighten Ferdinando Monfordini into going straight on and onto the grass, getting out of the rotten way.
You're talking about heart rate being about 200.
Well, Anthony Kumpen's heart, he said that it's very difficult to measure in the car because there's a lot of telemetry and electronics going on, but when they've measured it successfully, at critical moments like this, it's been something like 205, 210.
We saw a car starting from pit lane, Adam Latchko. Just a quick note of their progress so far up to 17th place. And we have had trouble as well as for the number 14 car for the 95, the PCOM racing car that started towards the back of the grid. Cedric Spirazzuoli it was who took the start, but they've had a problem recurring, unfortunately, with the sensor, and that hasn't been fixed properly. They had a sensor failure earlier on. It seems to have come back to haunt them again.
So we're looking at GT2. It's currently Rajinger, Westbrook, then Tim Mullen, then Bruni in number 50, then Nicky Kadei in number 51, and behind that Tim Sugden, 59, holding off Holzer
just looking for a way past Holzer. Holzer not giving him any room, but Tim has pulled clear for the moment of the Pro Ski car behind him of Marco Holzer, but he's not able to get past Nicky Kadei, who's doing a sterling job in defending the back of Jimmy Bruni's AF Corsa. So the two of them running in tandem here with Tim Mullen out at the front of this pack, and considering what Tim Mullen has under him in terms of an engine, he's doing a great job out there.
And the other thing, the other person doing a great job, of course, is Raginger. We said this could be Porsche's weekend, but we weren't expecting it to be Raginger. And Anthony Kumpen not able to follow the Celine through there, and so he couldn't maximise his opportunity to pass while Monfordini was stuck behind the GT2 car, but he'll be looking for that. I thought it'd be 14 laps, it's 12 laps, and we're mixing it with the GT2 field. And look, the first of the pit stops.
Stuck in traffic, why not get in there and get it done? Handing over to Tony Wielander in the number 50 AF Corsa.
But only 15 minutes in the driving seats, so Bruni's in for a long stint later. So you kind of think that car was light on fuel.
Yeah, both these GT1 cars we saw battling were making their way past Matteo Malucelli, himself making his way up through the field after their delayed start because of the, or pushed back to the end of the grid start because of their failure on ride height after scrutineering for qualifying. They're now up to 19th place, and these two as battle rejoined with no one now separating them. The car in front is the 95 car. That'll be their next target. That's the rejoined PCOM car that we were talking about a moment ago, having had an early problem with the sensor. They too have done a driver change and handed over to Francesco Lamazza. To Cedric Spirazzuoli.
And there he goes. Kumpen's got to be through on the inside this time. Stitched him
Nice
up
job.
a treat on the run to the right-hander, and away he goes. Most of the corners on this circuit, in fact, I think 6 or 7 of them are right-handers.
A lot of left-hand turns on this track, according to Tim Sugden, who's struggling with a couple of broken ribs as a legacy of that incident at Silverstone. So planning to try and protect those as much as he can this weekend, but it's going to be very tender by the end of his stint when he hands over to David Ashburn. This battle continues, though, with Kumpen having got past now, trying to break away and go off in pursuit of Xavier Martin in the similar but Luc Alphon entered Corvette.
The gap there is now 6 seconds, so stuck behind Monfordini. Anthony Kumpen has lost 6 seconds in the last 15 minutes to the third place Corvette of Xavier Masson. And you would say, as a betting man, or I would certainly say that I'd put my money on Anthony Kumpen in that PK Corvette as opposed to this man here. Masson is very, very quick, but I think raw speed, Anthony Kumpen and Mike Hazelman probably quicker.
Yes, may well be. It remains to be seen. I've got a sneaking regard for Xavier Martin,
sure,
and for Guillaume Moreau, of course, his teammate in the SRT racing car. So we'll see. Sorry, not the SRT racing car.
Luc Alphonse.
I'll get it right. In Luc Alphonse's car. SRT is Bert Longines and James Ruffier, of course. Little gap opening up between Bertolini and Muller the last couple of laps. That's now up to 2 3/4.
They're just coming up on the back of a Celine, and it's obviously the number 18 K plus K, and the GT2 car inviting Bertolini through there, which is very proper driving indeed. And of course Andrew Ficolti's had his problems already that we saw, and making way. And there will be blue flags waved during the course of the season, although quite how they're all going to see them in the dark is another matter.
Yes, that will be interesting to see. In comes the Celine for a refettling. That's Fernando Monfardini still in the car.
So they obviously elected to start with a light fuel load, because that's the only reason I can think of coming in now, is because you've got to. And Alex Muller looking very good in this Maserati, I've got to say.
Yeah, and Andrew Ficolti doing the gentlemanly thing and finding a space to let him through, which on its own isn't easy, but doing it nonetheless. Alex Muller really showing his strength as a driver, having made a forced move away from Aston Martin over the winter, with Jet Alliance not taking part in the GT Championship this year, unfortunately, but he's found a good berth alongside Miguel Ramos in the number 2 Vitaphone car. Here's our GT2 leader still, Martin Ragginger, up at the head of things with a 3.5 second gap back to Richard Westbrook. So Porsche's 1 and 2 in GT2, and that's the first time I think we've been able to say that in the 4 visits we've had to Adria.
Well, it's been a Porsche-ish track. I mean, Westbrook and Collard were very close last year, and then a headlight fell out, and the rules say you have to have all your lights, or there's a list of lights you need, and headlights is among them. And I think they taped a torch in the headlights socket in the end, didn't they, or a small bulb or something, but they lost a couple of laps in doing it. More email questions, studio@fiagt.com. What's happened to the K plus K Celine? Why was it disqualified? Where were you at the beginning when we said its rear wing is 1.5 millimetres further back than it should have been? And I know that sounds silly, but they do take them apart, put them in boxes and ship them between circuits and then rebuild them. And the wing is very much a movable feast, and it is very easy when you put it back together to screw it on and be 1.5 millimetres out by accident. It's equally easy to do it by deliberate intent and hope no one notices.
Which was not what we were suggesting.
Not at all, but
on board with Richard Westbrook.
It wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
And just to answer finally the point, the problem they've had is a broken drive shaft.
Yes, they started from the back because of that, and I think Ryan Sharp gave it many beams off the start line, and I'm afraid that's the end of that. But all of these cars, the rear wing is an adjustable thing. Well, you can see that it's sticking out on stilts, and you can adjust the position for maximum downforce, but it can't be too far back. I just saw Miguel Ramos sitting in the Maserati box, so you know that Alex Muller isn't coming in anytime soon, because Ramos is sat there in his team polo shirt. Michael Bartels, on the other hand, is on the pit wall with his balaclava on, but he has a habit of getting fully ready and then pacing up and down pit lane anxiously like an expectant dad.
And somewhat impatiently, because he does love driving these cars, and he's quick. Here's the on board again from Alex Muller, number 2, about 4 seconds adrift of Andrea Bertolini with all this lappery going on. There is Bertolini coming up onto the back of the Celine.
Fastest lap of the race was Bertolini responding to Muller's fastest lap, 1:13.1, which is really a couple of seconds off the qualifying pace. Not bad at all.
Very, very decent lap by lap time for the Maseratis.
And as they get lighter now, as they're burning fuel at the rate of something like 2 litres a lap, which is something like 1.5 kilos coming off every lap, they should be nimbler in the traffic, but of course that will still slow them down. We haven't seen much of third place, but there is Xavier Masson in the number 19, also picking his way through the GT2 field. And you can see, look, that, of course, the car behind almost stuck on the back bumper there. GT2 Ferrari almost through the corners as quick as the Corvette.
Yep, very difficult to sometimes differentiate these cars. The GT1s, as a clue in this night race, do have the white headlights, so you can always tell which is a GT1 and which is a GT2 by just looking at the lights.
in the cockpit of the number 19 car. More GT2s ahead of him, and those headlights flashing to let them know that he wants past. But again, same problem for them. They've got their race to handle, and they can't really find a place to let him through without losing the fraction of a second that they've just fought so hard for on an entire lap. But you can see the frustration here for Masson, who's right up behind them, clearly could go quicker but cannot find a way past, looking for it round the outside and not finding it.
Yeah, and again it's Tim Sugden who's going to have to make way. It's a fly down the start-finish straight. Will the Corvette be able to tow up past the CRS car as well? Yes, he will, just into turn one, and keeping out wide there. Tim Mullen will have compromised his speed somewhat. In fact, he runs wide. Tim Sugden now exerting huge pressure on Tim Mullen.
Well, Tim Mullen has
just
paid the price, hasn't he, for being a gentleman. He went out very high and wide, as you say, Graham. Tim Sugden saw his opportunity, and now Tim Mullen's fighting to keep him behind. He's not in control of that, and he's had to give best, or is he? No, he's defending it on the right-hander and round the outside the long way. Tim Sugden looking straight away back to the inside, and that's all because Tim Mullen just backed off a fraction and stood away from his natural line.
Fantastic racing between these two, giving and asking no quarter. Tim Sugden it is who comes out on top at the moment. I wonder whether Tim Mullen just picked up a bit of dirt on the tyres from running so wide, lost a bit of traction as well, and it'd be fascinating to see if he can fight his way back past the Porsche.
Well, that's the problem that all of the GT2 drivers are going to face during the course of this evening. They don't want to get out of the way when they're locked in a close battle like that. But of course the GT1 car is chasing after second and then first place, and he needs to get on with his lap. So they've both got different imperatives going on, and you can see that it could be easily the cause of some friction, and has been here in the past.
Yeah, Anthony Kumpen meanwhile has now come up onto the back of this battle as well. He though will encounter Tim Mullen first and then Tim Sugden. He flies past Tim Mullen's Ferrari and stays out of the way again in a very gentlemanly fashion. He's right up on the tail of Tim Sugden in the track speed car, and he's closed down a little bit on Xavier Marcin in this battle of the passing in traffic. But now he's got the same problems to face that Marcin had a lap earlier. Seems to have dealt with the traffic a little quicker than Marcin was able to in the Luc Alphon car. And another little duel going on, is it? No, that's, yes, 77 is Paolo Roberti, having had a stop, has come up against Tony Vilander, who equally has had one stop. We saw Vilander taking over early on from Jimmy Bruni. Both of these cars have had one of their two required stops already, and at the moment it looks as though it's Roberti who's just that little bit quicker than Tony Vilander, who of course has got a much heavier car.
Paolo Roberti, of course, Italian, and I believe his home, like so many of the Italian race drivers, is not really more than a stone's throw away from here in Adria, so he might well know his way around this circuit rather better than Tony Vilander, who is best mates with Kimi Räikkönen and therefore very Finnish.
GT2 leader Martin Ragginger, a wise head on young shoulders, keeping well out of the way of this pack of three GT1 cars, not all vying for position at the moment. The two Maseratis in picture there, the turquoise cars, are first and second, but sandwiching a car which they've lapped.
24 laps down, we are just over the half-hour mark, so a quarter of this race has elapsed, and here's another pit stop.
That's Andrew Kirkcaldy handing over to Rob Bell, the northeasterner. Did the qualifying, but just couldn't quite get the ultimate speed out of the car. The driver change already completed, fuel's been done, now it's time to change the wheels. You're not allowed to do that while you're refueling.
Yes, it's not like a Formula 1 pit stop where it all happens at once. In this championship, it has to be done in order, and the first thing that happens is the fuel, and no one can touch the car apart from the incoming and outgoing drivers and someone to clean the windscreen. Only when the fuel has been added can the very small number of pit lane personnel change the tyres.
Tony Vilander still under pressure from Paolo Roberti, the BMS Scuderia car there in the middle of your picture with the white stripe across the nose, chasing down the AF Corsa car. We would expect normally to be up at the sharp end of things, but at the moment they're back in, where are we, 2, 4, 6, 7th, 8th place in class this battle.
Well, of course, the whole crew in front of them have yet to stop for their first pits. So everyone from Martin Ragginger backwards owes us a pit stop in GT2 until we get, in fact, to Rob Bell.
Yeah. Wieland and Roberti make their way past Bell during his pit stop down the inside to split these two cars momentarily. Comes the taped up and hastily repaired number 40 GT Ford of Mark VDS, Van der Straaten's team. And
almost being repassed in the corner there. It's looking a bit second hand now because of all the clanging earlier on. It's been gaffer taped together and it seems to be holding up, but I think there's a lot of damage to the front. Aerodynamically it might not be quite as sophisticated as it was when it took the start.
No, it's been in the wars, hasn't it, that one already? Early days too. We've still got almost an hour and a half to run. But that's the differential between the new breed of GT1 and the old breed of GT2. Somewhere betwixt old GT2 and new old GT1 is where this silver car should fit in.
Yes, if it is going according to plan, then it should be a little bit slower than the current breed of GT1s. And here's the other Ford GT, Thomas Biaggi. It should be a little slower than the current breed and a little bit faster than the GT2s. And so it proved at Silverstone, so it seems again here in the cockpit with Thomas, who has got about 100 members of his fan club in the paddock. They're all going around wearing the same hats and t-shirts. It's quite an extraordinary sight, very popular in Italy, but of course all the Italian drivers are very popular in Italy.
And running in 7th place at the moment, this car. A little bit back to sorry,
I was just going to say 3 seconds a lap difference at the moment around here between this car and the number 1 Maserati. You saw it on the screen there, 113 and 116. That's the difference around here. And I don't think that at the end of this year it will be so great. Remember, this is a brand new car built to regulations which are still being formulated, and it will be developed during the course of the year.
Here's this battle which we haven't yet seen. Rob Bell making up a place at the expense of number 78, which is Diego Romanini in the second of the BMS Scuderia Italia cars. And Rob Bell very quickly up to speed after his pit stop. There's another pass. Was it the same one from another angle?
From another angle. And here we go again. This is a replay from on board.
Sweet as you like. Armfuls of lock though to keep the car there in route correction afterwards, just to make sure it stays going around the corner, still drifting a bit wide.
With an hour and 25, so 35 minutes of racing under our belt, Bertolini is 2 seconds ahead of Alex Muller. They are now jointly 13 seconds ahead of Xavier Masson, who is just 4 seconds ahead of this man here, Anthony Kumpen, just passing the number 60 of Richard Westbrook. We're in the cockpit with Richard now, second in GT2, and that was the roof of the GT2 leader, just dipping out at the bottom of the picture there, Martin Ragginger, and that's the car that Westbrook is trying to catch. And you can see the line that Anthony Kumpen is right wide through that left-hander there, and Richard Westbrook holding the GT2 car very tightly in.
Yeah, Luigi Lucchini is going to take over from Martin Ragginger. Probably won't have the pace of Manuel Collard, who's due to take over from Richard Westbrook. This is one of the ups and downs of GT racing with 2 driver teams.
Well, Richard Westbrook certainly banging them in. He's taking a little bit of time out of Martin Ragginger, who's about a second quicker on this last time lap than Ragginger. Let's have a look at his sector times now. It will be about exactly the same. A 10th either way, a 10th for Ragginger in sector 1, a 10th for Westbrook in sector 2, so they're very evenly matched. And Martin Ragginger, even though he is a child and should be at home with his PlayStation, is looking very impressive indeed.
Yep, and he's been doing quite a bit of driving. I mean, he's practically a works driver for Porsche, having cut his teeth in the Super Cup and Carrera Cup. He's raced in the States for ALMS.
Here we go again.
Yep.
Look, Anthony Kumpen coming up on the tail end of a Celine, which is, I think, still handled by Monfordino. He just goes scything past. And no trouble this time. He was stuck behind that for an awful long time earlier on. Is it that one, or is it the other full speed racing, Celine. We're never going to know now. As into the pits comes Tim Mullen.
Already out of the car and helping to strap in team owner Chris Niarchos.
That's a shame, isn't it? Both cars in difficulty. The number 14 car sent to the back of the grid and then broke a drive shaft. Number 18 in the box. That's obviously a retirement. Yeah,
Adam Latchko on his second stop there. The team already in to hand over from the start driver Mario Dominguez, who showed so well at Silverstone, to Latchko, but it looks as though their day is already over. So an early bath for K plus K this time as we go back to our GT2 field, and there is Martin Ragginger completing yet another lap with, in increasingly hot pursuit, Richard Westbrook.
GT2 P1, GT2 P2, and what's the gap this time around?
Westbrook a second quicker there, and down to below 2 seconds from the first to second place.
What's happening here is that the fuel is coming off the 60 car, which has got a lot of ballast on board. It's getting lighter and it's getting a lot more drivable. It's using the tyres, sure, remember they're the tyres it qualified on,
yep.
But Westbrook can feel the weight come off, and now you're beginning to see it in the lap times, and I wonder how long this car is fueled for and whether he can in fact pass the number 1, the P1 car.
It's
and
not a
problems
good day
for
for
Monfalini. Gearbox problem we understand, but it's not a Celine track, this, is it?
No, they're really not having a happy day of it at all, are they? That just leaves healthily at the moment, don't curse it, Graham, the number 11 car of Stefan Lemaire out in 6th place at the moment, due to hand over to Luke Hines, ex of the British GT series, of course, with CR Scuderia as they were last year.
Well, Richard Westbrook is hacking his way closer to Martin Ragginger, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Bertolini and Muller are 12 seconds clear at the front of GT1, but have a look at this as they go over the line. Let's see what the gap is. 1.8 seconds. It's a little bit less this time, and their last laps was 16.9 and 16.5, is that? 16.8, so just another 10th before Westbrook.
Yeah, Ragginger is really impressed in this first stint though, and more power to his elbow as we see more lappery going on. That's Tim Sugden just going out of shot and still holding 3rd place in class. Here is this is 78 and 51. We saw that battle going on earlier on,
and he's rejoined, and we caught a glimpse also at the top of the sole surviving Celine there.
It's my pardon, 77 is the car behind, is it, with the yellow mirrors? No, it is 78, so that's not the place. Yeah, that's not the place battle.
It's Romanini. This is the place battle, and where is Ragginger? There he is. From the onboard camera, it looks a lot further away than it actually is. And when you see it on the same camera, you'll see there, that's the gap, just going past the pit lane entrance. And in a couple of seconds round the final corner, we'll find out what the gap is going to be this time. It was 1.8, and they're on to the start-finish straight now, and it is 2.11.
Ragginger responding well with a 16.8. That's not quite his fastest lap, but only 4/10 away, and just goes to show that there's a little bit more in the tank yet, Richard.
Absolutely right, Graham, and we've got a message on our screen that says lights on please. All those who haven't got their lights on must now turn them on, and if they don't work, this is when the race director will call them in to have their lights fixed. This is, everything about the car has to be perfect. It's even got to preserve the luggage space.
Yep, we're gazing out on a beautiful sunset here to the west, and the problem of the sun beating down into the cars is going to be much less now for the drivers. We are now looking at Vilander and Roberti, their battle still ongoing. Paolo Roberti not able yet to find a way past the Finn,
and uncharacteristically a long way down again for AF Corse. So we're not used to this, are we? Westbrook, Sugden, Kadei, and then Vilander. Yes, it is weight, and of course it's especially evident here on a stop-start circuit with a lot of turns that ballast will be very punitive, but of course they didn't do very well at Silverstone last time out and retired, and therefore have no extra success ballast. And AF Corse, you've got to say, the last couple of seasons has got used to running with a lot of ballast on, hasn't it?
Yes, that's true, they have. They've got rather more sort of driver team ballast this year than they had last. It went up from 28 kilos to 50 over the close season, and 40 kilos on board the 77 car, so it's only 10 kilos lighter, but those 10 kilos are probably worth a tenth of a second round a lap at best.
when you consider how hard they work at getting the weight of the cars down and how hard they work at shaving fractions of a second off, and then somebody comes along and plonks 50 kilos of lead in the passenger seat.
It would get your attention, wouldn't it? Still a lot of pit stops to be taken first time through as there we go, bang on cue, in comes Alex Muller, and you'll get the chance to see our first Maserati pit stop, see just how well honed they are. Out comes the little seat squab that Alex Muller has been using, but Miguel Ramos won't.
Most teams take something like 14 seconds to change a set of wheels. Let's just watch this. The stopwatch started when it went up on the jacks, and a little bit of a fumble on the back wheel there. Nothing very spectacular for the Maserati team. 15 seconds to change all 4 tyres, and away it goes. That is very, very typical. And there was no real sign of Maserati pit stop magic there, but there was a little fumble at the back on our side. So I don't think they won anything on that stop, but they were very short on the fuel hose, which means they could get on with their 15-second tyre change a lot earlier. And here comes the number 3 car in. Driver change, of course.
6th place, James Rouffier it is who climbs out, the lanky Frenchman handing over to the rather shorter Belgian, Bert Longin.
And Bert Longin, another one who takes his fitness very seriously. Look, the tyre gun, the gun's on the wheel before it goes up on the jacks. And the stopwatch again started as it went up on the jack. This is looking good. They all practice this. You can hear those guns clattering all night in the pit lane on Thursdays and Fridays at the racetrack. And all the teams are out there practicing, and that's another 14-second tyre change.
Spectacular countryside here around Adria, and beautiful scenes as the sun goes down. Beautiful scenes on the track too, as 50 goes past the recovering from the pit lane Corvette. The Corvette will soon make his way up to speed and straight back past again, which will allow that battle between Roberti and Wielander to be rejoined. Oh, just a little bit cosy there, gentlemen, because in behind that, of course, is another Corvette.
It's Anton Kumpen, I believe.
Yep. Kumpen yet to make his stop.
So the race order at the moment says Bertolini, Massa, Kumpen, Lemeray, but the pit stops have started and we have to let them all percolate through before we can see exactly what the story is. Kumpen getting very racy behind the GT2 Ferrari because he wants to get on and get past the Corvette. And those are the blue flags waving. But again, it's so difficult to get out of the way even if you want to.
He will also want to get some very rapid laps in before his pit stop handover, having seen that Miguel Ramos has taken over the number 2 Maserati. It won't be long before the rest of the GT1 field. In fact, there is Kumpen diving into pit lane now. It's a handover to Mike Hazelman's. 60 km/h speed limit once you hit that line.
Just going over that line there, that's when the 60 kilometres start, and this is Anthony Kumpen just looking for his pit box there, and that's Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp watching as spectators just as you are, and you can see from that face and that body language they're not happy, are they?
No, the man who still seems to be happy though is Richard Westbrook. The gap now down to less than 1.5 seconds last time round.
Still chasing after Martin Raginger and still not quite up on his tail, but again that number 60 car getting lighter lap by lap, as are they all, but Westbrook being able to use it slightly better, I think.
Yeah, Raginger actually putting in the quicker lap last time round while we were busy watching pit stops and things. They've had a bit of a trade of quick times. Tim Sugden still holds 3rd, but he's almost 20 seconds adrift of this battle.
On board with Westbrook.
Is battling with 1 point with Nicky Goudet. He's just dived into pit lane as well for the second AF Corsa stop, with the 50 car having made theirs much earlier on. Top 3 in GT2 still to pit.
That's so loud in a pit lane, isn't it? There's no need for that, chaps. And he may have a problem pulling out of pit lane because the mechanic was waving and the door might not be shut on that 51 Ferrari. We'll look at it now, and it's on the other side,
the
unfortunately.
Driver's door, yeah. Alvaro Barber Lopez.
And it is indeed open.
Yep. Good spot. Alvaro Barber Lopez, it is just holding the door open there and trying to slam it shut. may have achieved that on his own. No, the door's still flapping in the breeze, so may have to come in.
That's not really what they, of course, have got in the script, is it? But he will have to come in and have that. Although the slipstream is blowing it backwards and will keep it, I'm sure that they'll be showing him the black flag with his number. Oh, that can't go on, can it?
No, that's an extra aerodynamic device, of course, and not within the box, as viewed from above.
Yes, all of those things, but no, he's got to come in and have that sorted.
Yeah, that's going to be downright dangerous if it starts flying open.
Unless he's managed to grab it and shut it now, because it looks shut, and he may well have realised what happened and have given it a good tug, as you often do on the M25, you naughty chaps.
Or the extra opening of the door and the wind pressure on it slammed it shut again. We will find out in the fullness of time. But
it looks closed, doesn't it?
Good, close camera work, guys. And yeah, that looks to be well secured now, which is just as well, because it would be a real penalty to have to come in for an unscheduled stop. Even in a 2-hour race, you cannot afford an extra pit stop.
So what have we got going on here? Bertolini is top of the tree, hasn't stopped. Neither has Xavier Masson, neither has Stefan Lemeret. Everyone else just about is in. Biaggi's still out there. Let's have a word though with Alex Muller, who has vacated the number 2 car and handed it over to Miguel Ramos.
Alex, you've had a great first stint, but how difficult are the conditions out there this evening?
The stint was okay. The start was so-so. I think I missed a little bit the start, but in general the car was consistent, and as I said in Silverstone already, the race starts in the second hour, and we did the first stint very easy. Now my teammate Miguel Ramos is in the car. The lap time he's doing, they are quite good, so we're looking forward to it, and hopefully we can bring the second place back home.
Thank you, Alex.
Is it my imagination, or is he still changing gear with his right hand?
Xavier Masson has brought the second place car into the pits. The Luc Alphand Corvette that finished third at Silverstone, now in pit lane, and Masson will hand over to Guillaume Moreau, current Le Mans Series GT1 champion from last season. So no slouch himself. Martin Ragginger continues to lead GT2 by a very slowly increasing margin. There is Xavier Masson out of the Corvette. Work going on, and the hand goes up to indicate that everything's ready. The car fires up, that glorious V8 sound, and away they go.
I'm going to miss that, you know, next year, but of course we've got the Ford GTs.
Oh yes, and there may well be others.
Yes, out come the 19 car now with Guillaume Moreau behind the wheel. Bertolini, after 40 laps, is still your race leader, hasn't stopped. Lemeret second, hasn't stopped. Then a clutch of people who have just stopped. Thomas Biaggi's just gone into pit lane. Martin Ragginger is the next person who has yet to stop. He and Richard Westbrook are out there together still. That is the Biaggi handover in the number 40 car.
To Thomas
44,
Mutsch.
I beg your pardon, to Thomas Mutsch, yes, who we saw in action earlier on, looking very good in GT3 in one of these cars.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience in the GT3 version of this, having run it last season, but first time through for anybody in the 2010 spec GT1 cars, and they really is a glorious looking machine.
Just running the stopwatch on this since it went up on the jacks, and this is a very slow wheel change. We're already at 17 seconds and they're just putting on the back wheel. That will not do, and they're going to have to be better at that. Still going on the other side, 26 seconds to come down off the jacks. So they've lost 10 seconds and it won't start.
No. Sounds like it's fired up with a concern about that left front. It looks like the bodywork may be fouling the wheel. Bit of a push and a tug. They say get it up, back up on the jacks, please. These air jacks built into the cars for endurance racing. You don't come along with a trolley. What's going on inside there? Ah, right, okay. The inner wing panel had dropped, so we'll just rip it off, don't need it. Get rid of that, get the wheel back on as quick as you like. Put on the reverse thread nut and away we go.
That was a very long pit stop, as you saw. It's not exactly what the team wanted, but bear in mind that's a development for next year.
Paolo Roberti and Tony Vilander still at it, hammer and tongs, umpteen laps after we first saw them at it, and still Vilander is able to maintain that little bit of gap, a little bit of a slide there, running wide again. tyre wear here is going to be crucial. Ahead of GT2, Ragginger and Westbrook still duking it out with Ragginger getting the better of it for the time being and pulling out a gap. Still no joy for the Matek team. Now they've got the back end of the car up for inspection.
I think we saw pretty much this whole scenario played out at Silverstone, and it does make it look like a very sensible plan to start campaigning that car now and develop it for next year, doesn't it, rather than do all this work next year during races where it counts.
Guillaume Moreau straight into the car and has immediately set that car's fastest time in the number 19 Luc Alphon Corvette at 1:13.2. This is a cracking GT2 battle though, isn't it, down the field?
Barber straight into 51 and set that car's fastest time as well. It's let's have a look. Ragginger, Westbrook, Sugden, Biaggi is in the pits and is in GT1 anyway. Ragginger, Westbrook, Sugden, Ruberti is in 4th place and Barber 5th, and then it's Paolo Young in ahead of Chris Niarchos, and then Rob Bell is at the back end of the GT2 train at the moment.
Yeah, Darrell Young, a fascinating driver with an Irish name, Canadian born, but actually Hong Kong Chinese by nationality, and our first Chinese driver to do a full season of FIA GTs. In has come Stéphane Lemarais from what was 2nd place, drops to 3rd, and will drop further as others behind him fill in. There we go, we've got Barber. This is the 77 car sandwiched now between the two AF Corsas. Alvaro Barber Lopez, the former World Series Renault driver, so a lot of single-seater experience, but first time in GTs and showing extremely well. Already up onto the back of Paolo Roberti and looking very racing, 2.5 quicker than either of these two, though of course he's straight into the car and fresh and fit. The other two ahead of him have been battling out for a long time. Fresh tyres, of course, gone on to the car in the background there.
Comes.
Jumping down the inside, showing intent, but not yet able to build up the speed he needs to get past Paolo Roberti.
Bertolini's still out there, and he's one of I think he's the only GT1 car that has yet to stop.
Another look down the inside, and a big lock up there for Alvaro Barber, but not... Just not able to make it happen. Tim Sugden has come into pit lane from 3rd place in GT2, and into has come Andrea Bertolini.
Michael Bartel's straight in. That's a very fast driver change. Screen can be cleaned while the fuel is going on. They're waiting on the guns for the car. They're on the guns already. The car goes up, so they're already unwinding the wheel nuts before it's up in the air. It's all laid out like carefully choreographed operation, and as I say, they practice and practice and practice. Nothing fancy though in this tyre change, and again 16-17 seconds before it comes down off the jack. There's no magic in the tyre change, is there?
No, but there's magic in the cockpit, because Ramos has been closing down on Bertolini with his Bertolini's tyres getting a little bit frayed, and indeed here he is going to cross the line and take the lead from Andrea Bertolini during that pit stop sequence. Meanwhile, behind them it's Mike Hazeman in 3rd. Guillaume Moreau in 4th has just set the race's fastest lap at a 1:13.018.
So we have a new race leader, and here it is. Now, we think this might be contrary to team orders, and we'll find out shortly.
Be interesting to see what happens with it. What he has done, I think, is to split up the Ferrari battle. That's number 50 up ahead. So Barber has got past Paolo Roberti out of our sight. So it's AF Corsa running the line astern. Paolo Roberti has dived into the pits, that's why we didn't see the pass. He's now on his 2nd stop and hand back to Matteo Malucelli. There indeed was it all happening.
Malucelli back out on track. That was very quick indeed. And look, 2nd pit stops, and there's an hour to go. So Malucelli, fuel to the finish. That car's going to be fat with fuel, and he's going to try and make those tyres carry him all the way to the finish. And that's an important thing to remember. the tyres they qualified on are the tyres they used in the first stint, so it makes sense to have a shorter first stint and a longer second one, but it does mean going out very heavy with fuel. 75 kilos of fuel on board.
Second stop.
Comes the 50 car for its second stop. So this is very much the strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, Tony Vielander handing back to Jimmy Bruni.
Oh, and also into the pit lane comes Martin Raginger, and the Porsche coming to a halt there, and out he goes Luigi Lucchini, being strapped in, fuel going in. The Porsche has its fuel tank at the front, you'll notice the fuel hose is on the bonnet, and the fuel cell is in there, up on the jacks. How quick can Brixia do it? They've had lots of practice in GT3, but they don't change tyres, do they? So this is all new.
Well, they'll have done this a few times at Silverstone in practice, and saw them practicing in the pit lane here as well. So now out in the lead of GT2 on his own, Richard Westbrook, still yet to make that stop to hang over to Manuel Collard.
So we're never going to know how quickly Brixia got through that tyre change, but it was looking very quick. And so is Richard Westbrook, actually. Can he make a little bit of hay now while he's got the circuit to himself? And can he bang in a couple of quick laps? That would be very useful indeed from their point of view. But the Brixia car's already out there. And as you can see, look, it's dark here now. We've got the circuit lights on and the sun has vanished. And in comes Westbrook, pit lane now on the 60 kilometres an hour speed limiter, and looking for the pro speed pits for a handover to Emmanuel Collard. This car will have to stop again.
Yep, out climbs the rather more lanky Richard Westbrook, in gets the shorter Manu Collard, a Porsche factory driver for many, many years and hugely experienced.
The compact French version.
Yes, indeed.
How quick is Lucchini? Is he going to be as quick as Emmanuel Collard? That's what we don't know. That's what we're going to find out. That could well determine the outcome.
What did you say earlier about Mike Hazelman's? You said he was pretty rapid, didn't
yes.
you? Well, he's in third place and lapping quicker than either of the Maseratis, ahead of him by over half a second.
And just set the car's fastest time as well, down in the 13s at 13.1. And as you say, the Maserati's a little bit persecuted by GT2 Porsche. That's not much fun, is it?
No, I suspect he's just made the pass. In fact, as off goes Collard in the number 60 Pro Speed car.
Not the best pit stop in the world, that one. They may well have lost a little bit of time. Brixia turned that car around very quickly, as we saw. That was quite a lengthy visit for Emmanuel Collard.
So come out just behind the GT1 Corvette in the hands of Mike Hazelman. This is the man who just set his car's fastest lap.
Oh, what's that about? Just a little bit too much.
Somebody's trading a lot of smoke there from the Ferrari's right rear.
Was that just a little bit of ambitious braking, or was it something worse?
Alvaro Barber just out-braking himself, we think, into that corner. Alvaro Barber Lopez in the 51 Corsa. You can just about make out the white bar across the bonnet there of the 51 car.
In front of him is Mike Hazelman, currently in third place, 3.5 seconds behind Michael Bartels, and steaming up behind him, and still again another 2 or 3 tenths on the last lap. So Hazelman very much on it, and in this 51, look, more smoke under braking. He's just a little bit heavy with the right foot on the brake pedal, isn't he?
Yep.
Or is he using the left foot
braking,
yeah,
being a single-seater man, of course? Yes. You never quite know, do you?
But you can see the brake disc there glowing on that 51 car. And that's going to be an issue here. Remember, they don't cool down. They get that hot all the time, but there's no long straights. They're back on the brakes almost straight away. 19 is doing Lappery, GT1, GT2. Collard keeping out of the way.
That's Guillaume Moreau.
Hoping to get a tow, is he, past the 51 car? Sneak through behind.
Just shifting sides there, Guillaume Moreau having to. Yeah, this is where inexperience in the GT brand of racing may come into play. Alvaro Barber Lopez really having trouble. He's going to wreck those tyres very early in the stint if he's not careful. Collard is doing his very best to tow right up behind and make the pass as soon as he can. It's the Brixia car that heads GT2 at the moment. Luigi Lucchini has about 4.5 seconds over this battle for second place currently between Barber Lopez and Emmanuel Collard. We're on board with Collard.
Collard looking to maximise the inexperience of Alvaro Barber, and again runs wide, gets an armful of dust, and again those glowing brake discs, and Collard is going to push him into making the mistake he needs to get past. If he can't just power past, and I don't think he can, the Ferrari just a little bit quicker on acceleration out of the corner there, and Collard's just going to annoy him until he finally does something that gives Collard the advantage. And again, looking down the inside, but the Ferrari is just a little bit quicker. Remember, the Porsche's got a lot of ballast on board.
That's Luigi Lucchini in the car ahead. The white Porsche just going out of shot. That's the leader of class there with the red flash on the nose of the car. That's your class leader. Second and third towing right up behind. This is the difference then between Luigi Lucchini's pace in the Brixia car and that of Martin Ragginger.
So this battle towing up right behind, and the gap is only 2.8 seconds. Last time it's much less than that this time. Much less it's going to be. But Collard, again, you can see how difficult it is to get past when you want. Even if there was cooperation, it's a struggle. There's no cooperation here, and Alvaro Barber has going to either try and get past Luigi Lucchini, and here he comes looking for the opportunity to get past the Porsche, and of course Collard will want to tow round with him.
Collard will want to try and get him blocked in behind the slower car if he possibly can. They're all sprinting down the start-finish straight already. Alvaro Barber Lopez showing his nose and headlights to the leading GT2 car, but he's not going to be phased. Lucchini, he's done a bit of Carrera Cup racing in Italy, so he's no stranger to this sort of pressure, but he simply doesn't have the outright speed, I think, of the car, the drivers behind him, but he's doing his best to hold them off at the moment. This is giving Collard a perfect opportunity to put yet more pressure on the Ferrari driver, who again runs just that little bit wider. Collard holding a better line through the corners all round. The Porsche again looking up on the inside, but no room there.
Brake discs glowing, and they are still nose to tail. But have a look at this. This is still the same Brixia car that we saw earlier on with Martin Ragginger, looking very quick indeed and pulling away from Richard Westbrook under pressure. It's still got the power, and it's still driving away from the Ferrari out of the corners just about, and making it impossible for the Ferrari to pass. He hasn't got the power to drive past, and he's much quicker through the turns than Lucchini, and Collard is much quicker through the turns, I think, than Alvaro Barber in the Ferrari, and Collard must be getting very frustrated indeed. We saw him nibbling away at the back end of an AF Corsa car at Silverstone because he knew he was quicker, and he knew that if you gave him an empty track he would vanish from sight, and I think that on a lap Collard is quicker than either of these two.
Yeah, and coming up onto the back of them, if this battle continues the way it is, they keep slowing each other down, will be Rob Bell in the 56 CRS racing car, currently shown as 5th in class, but Darrell O'Young has just brought the 61 car in for its second stop, and through goes Alvaro Barber Lopez. Will Collard follow? You bet he will.
Will Collard follow? Is it dark outside?
Now we are in for a real treat, because Collard again has the opportunity to go for the lead of class, and we'll see just what it is that Alvaro Barber Lopez is made of.
Well, Emmanuel Collard, we have seen outperforming the car sometimes behind the wheel, driving out of his skin, airborne across the curves here at Adria last year. Him and Westbrook both were astonishingly quick, quicker than the car ought to be, and in the background there, just a little puff of dust as Luigi Lucchini ran very wide all by himself. I think he's a little bit rattled now, trying to keep up with these two who have, now that they've cleared him, picked up a bit of speed. They've got their own battle to fight, and Lucchini's having trouble staying with them, and he's getting a bit ragged because he thinks he should be this quick and he isn't.
And it's into the second hour of the race, Richard, before we see a Ferrari heading GT2.
There's something. 54 minutes left. Everybody has made one stop. A couple of people have made two, but everybody we're looking at owes us a pit stop, and there will be a change of driver. On balance, it's going to just go back the other way, isn't it? Westbrook and Collard pretty much even, but the car in front of him will be quicker at the handover, and the car behind him is going to be quicker at the handover. So it's still not done and dusted yet for Collard and Westbrook by any stretch, even if he passes the Ferrari now, and that's looking much harder now that Alvaro Barber hasn't got himself stuck behind the other Porsche.
Yeah, this is going to be an absolute cracker of a battle to watch right the way to the checker. Collard doing his very best to stay within reach of the Ferrari, but not do anything to damage the car. It has got another 53 minutes to run. We're back at the head of the field with the GT1 battle between the two stablemates, the Maseratis. It's still Miguel Ramos who heads Michael Bartels, whose team it is, and who has 1.6 seconds only now between the two. Bartels taking another half second out of Miguel Ramos last time round. Mike Hazelman's still lapping at the same speed as Bartels and 3.3 seconds behind him.
And a little bit of smoke there from the Ferrari under pressure. Email us if you want, studio@fiagt.com. Lots of people have. David Fraser in Scotland says, how many cars are out there? Well, there were 22 at the start, there's a few less now. But he's wondering if they'd all fit round Knockhill. Pretty similar,
Now,
isn't
there's
it?
a thought. There is a thought. We've lost 5, we think, so far. So we'll various ailments and problems.
Ramos, I think his lead is looking increasingly shaky because Michael Bartels, look, the light's already flickering. Well, now there's a message from race control that says the number 2 car has got a drive-through penalty coming its way. Didn't start on its qualifying tyres, which is very, very schoolboy error, isn't it? Very un-Vitaphone Maserati.
If that was number 2 we heard called, then that is a very elementary mistake for them.
We've spent most of the
There it is, confirmed.
afternoon and evening bigging up Vitaphone for their slickness, and this is a very not slick thing to do. So Ramos is just going to have a drive-through for that, and they've got a limit on the number of tyres they can use for a weekend. It's 4 sets of dry tyres, unlimited wet tyres, up to a silly maximum, and they have to start the race on the tyres they used in the 15-minute qualifying session, which isn't a huge disadvantage when you think about it, and they've got a fresh set of tyres to put on later. So I think they may just have confused the sets. Actually started on a set of old tyres, but the wrong
set of old tyres. Yep, it's entirely possible. This will open up the lead battle again for Mike Hazelman's to have an attack on Michael Bartels. Bartels not able to lap at the same pace as as Mike Hazelman's, but eager to get on with it. Presumably he will have been told about that. Ramos has had a slow lap last time round, 1:15.4, a full second slower than Bartels, a scant 3/10 behind at the line.
Michael Bartels flashing his lights at Miguel Ramos to let him know it's the team owner, so kindly step aside, and I think you'll see that happen any moment now as soon as Ramos gets the phone call from the office on the pit wall to tell him that Bartels is going to come through. He's got to go into pit lane anyway. He doesn't want to be holding up the boss, does he?
No, and that needs to happen quickly because Mike Hazelman's is running quicker than either of the Maseratis ahead. The number 4 Corvette doing well.
So when will Ramos either move aside or will he just wait until he gets to the pit lane entrance? You get 3 laps to do your penalty, and he certainly had 2 since it was announced and came on the screen. So he's cutting it very, very fine, unless the team are actually discussing it with race control. Does he go in? He does. So drive through for the number 2 car, and Michael Bartels is now the race leader. Mike Hazelman, he's now in second place and only about 2.5 seconds behind him.
Yeah, and Guillaume Moreau, I'm sure, will come up into third. Might even see Ramos has crossed the time he's been in pit lane, but Guillaume Moreau, I think, will have overtaken him on the track. We'll be able to confirm that when we see the cars back out and up to speed again. May just have got out ahead of Bert Longin in the number 3 SRT Corvette, who was in the 5th.
So Bartels, Hazelman, and then Ramos or Morrow, we're not quite sure. Bert Longin in the number 3 SRT car, as you say, is in 5th. Then it's Luke Hines in our sole surviving Celine in the number 11 car, full speed racing. And then it's the GT2 Throng. And Barber from Collard is still the order there. 0.4 of a second the gap last time they came round.
Luke Hines making a good step up from the British GT, which is effectively GT3 series last season, up into a GT1 Celine, and very much holding his own within that team.
Blue flags waving to let the Ferrari driver know that those white headlights are in fact those of a GT1 car. I don't think he needs telling.
That just staying wide and out of the way to allow the Maserati back through. 2 seconds only the gap back to Mike Hazelman's.
Half a second the gap here. Look, they're still at it. Alvaro Barber Lopez in the AF Corsa car, being hounded round Adria's 10 corners by Emmanuel Collard. And trust me, when you've been hounded by Emmanuel Collard, you've been properly hounded.
You've been hounded, yeah. If he can maintain this until the pit stops, he will have done a mighty job.
Yes, he's looking very impressive. These are very much the B team at AF Corsa as far as we're concerned, because we've never seen them before. But he's looking very strong indeed, and doing the team's work in fine style, absolutely fine style, very impressive.
So in that little debacle with the number 2 Maserati, they did drop from the lead to 4th place. Guillaume Moreau does take over 3rd and is about 10 seconds back of Mike Hazelman's, who is just 2 seconds away from Bartels. Here's Collard having another look down the inside, but again Alvaro Barber Lopez able to hold him off. Sterling work being done in that Ferrari cockpit. Collard trying to wrap the outside, anywhere to go there. No, dive back down the inside. He's going to carry more speed out of the corner.
Emmanuel Collard is still quicker on a lap than Alvaro Barber if he got past him, but he just can't, can he?
Such a sinewy track, this one, twisting and turning, but every ounce of concentration and effort being put in by both of these drivers, Ferrari and Porsche, again head-to-head, toe-to-toe.
I'm getting very excited, Graham. Out of 10, how good is this?
Absolutely brilliant racing. It's what we always see when we come to Adria. Occasional grumbles from the drivers. It's been a bit of a lock-up there, was there? Lopez under huge pressure, trying to keep the car going, but again, right up under the rear wing. Collard ducks out to one side. Lights blazing in the mirrors of the Ferrari, but he's able to still keep control of it into turn 1. Again, we've got a wrong-facing David Ashburn. I think that was the track speed Porsche facing the wrong way. David Ashburn looks, I think it was he, to have looped it in turn 1.
And didn't these two do very well? Alvaro Barber is getting more and more impressive, because this is real pressure from Emmanuel Collard. Not only did he gather it all up when he got it slightly wrong coming out into the start-finish straight, but when he came round that turn 1, which is a 180-degree turn, and found himself face-to-face with a car going the wrong way, that didn't faze him either.
Great on-board shots from inside that car. The Pro Speed Porsche still looking to find a way past the AF Corsa Ferrari. This has been a Ferrari circuit since we first visited here back in 2006.
What it said is car 59 spun and rejoined at turn 1, so it was indeed David Ashburn. Collard still jumping up and down all over the place behind the back of the 51 car, and still not close enough to be threatening in this corner. This is looking better and better for AF Corsa and car 51, because if Collard can't get past now, he is never going to be able to manage it unless Barber makes a mistake. He just doesn't seem to be too fazed by all this pressure. There's only 45 minutes left. I don't want it to stop.
70 kilos, that's the difference between these two cars.
Yes, indeed. It just shows you what
kilos is sitting in alongside Collard
is doing. He's got a small person in the passenger seat. I say small because some of us weigh more than 70 kilos.
Only a tad.
Yes. Oh, he's right on it again, Collard. Absolutely throwing it at the back end of that Ferrari, and still he can't get past.
There's absolutely no let-up in this. The pressure is intense, both on Collard to drive that closely to a car in front of him, and there's Richard Westbrook looking on anxiously to see what his teammate is up to.
Richard Westbrook's thinking, when is it my turn? Let me at it.
Well,
Collard
it's not any time just yet, is it?
Yes.
Still no sign of the balaclava going back on.
Speaking of good job, Mike Hazelman just under 4 seconds away from the back end of Michael Bartel, so GT1 is close as well, but could you walk away from a race like this? Collard flashing his lights now, still just trying to upset Alvaro Lopez, see if it can just pressure him into doing one little thing wrong, because that's all it would take. And Collard will be passing right close up against the back wing of that car, and still it pulls away from him. Look at the difference, 1/10 of a second on the final lap, and that's because he's stuck behind.
Yeah, fantastic spectacle this night racing here at Adria. It's the third time we've done it this way, and it's an absolutely belting evening.
Yes, let's not take that too literally. We've had a very good evening so far with none of the messy stuff we've seen before. Come on, driving behind him now, and hard on the gas coming over the curve. Still can't get close.
Yeah, just running that little bit wide, losing some of the traction out on the dirty stuff on the outside of the track, and not quite able to put the power down the way he would have wanted to. Carrying great speed, but not able to maximise it. Here he is again, just nipping into the apex, very tight indeed. Not allowed to put the wheels over the white lines too far without incurring the rock. And Stewart right up again under braking. The Porsche very good into the corners, but the Ferrari quick enough out of them, not pulling that extra weight around the circuit all the time, must be paying dividends for them.
Well, it is 45, almost 50 minutes since the Pro Speed car was in the pits, since that handover to Emmanuel Collard from Richard Westbrook. So we are almost due a pit stop from Emmanuel Collard, and Alvaro Lopez is almost due a poke up the boot from Emmanuel Collard in that. Well, that was so close again.
Almost looked as though there might have been contact there from the onboard. You can never tell whether it's just the car in front jumping around on the bumps of the track. How close does this need to be?
Yeah, body
Richard
language.
Westbrook just sitting back, taking a drink of water. Thank you very much.
But the rest of the team are on the edge there, weren't they, leaning forwards into it. Now, surely Emmanuel Collard, the car must weigh nothing now compared to when he started in it, because he's been out there for almost an hour and he's used almost all of that 70 odd kilos of fuel, so it'll be much lighter. He'll be enjoying it a lot more, and yet he still cannot find an opening, and he still hasn't been able to make that man make a mistake. And let's have a look. Lucchini is behind him, is he not, in third place in 97.
I think he's a way behind, because I think they've passed Marcus Holzer as well.
Yes,
I think it's the 61 car we can see behind.
Little yellow flash.
Yeah, Lucchini in 97 is 12.5 seconds behind this battle for the lead of GT2, but nevertheless still holding the third placing class from Rob Bell by about half a minute.
Well, this is just so intense. I'm exhausted and I haven't been driving the car. Now you know, this is what we're talking about. I don't know what my heartbeat is, but Emmanuel Collard's will definitely be in the region of 200 beats a minute, and it's supposed to be 70, except when you're exercising. That's why all of their training is endurance training. That's why all of the drivers who train for 2 hours, for a 2-hour stint, because they need peak fitness for a 2-hour race. And now, thanks to the onboard shots, thanks to the trackside cameras, which have been excellent in the dark, you can see exactly why, as in comes the Maserati number 2. Miguel Ramos hands it back to Alex Muller. That's him getting in the seat now, and they were in 4th place after their little transgression.
Yes, very unfortunate piece of slippery fingerwork on the part of the team there to allow the car out at the start of the race on the wrong set of tyres. Very unusual indeed. But there's that second pit stop completed. Away goes the car, no tyres taken.
Yes, they've run the same set. The Maseratis are kind to their tyres. That's partly because of their mid-engine layout, which means they use them pretty evenly. We've seen them use that to their advantage, but everybody else has cottoned on and has realised pretty much that it's better to take the pain of a loose set of tyres in the last 15 minutes and save at least 15 seconds in the pit stop.
Alex Muller rejoins, and the battle still goes on at the head of GT2, but now with the added confusion of a GT1 car coming up behind.
Emmanuel Collard will know that's a GT1 car, and he might think I could sneak past on the tail end of Bert Longin if I'm clever. He's moved aside and he's going to tuck right in behind the SRT Corvette. Now, will he be able to trick Alvaro Lopez this time?
I don't think he will, because I think there's too much of a gap already building up between the GT1 car and Collard. In fact, what's happened in all of that is in having to ease slightly to let the GT1 car pass. Collard has fallen away from the tailpipes of the Ferrari that he's been examining very closely for the last 40 minutes or so.
Yes, if there was anything clever on the back end of that car, he'd know all about it, wouldn't he? Out goes that GT Ford, which has been in pit lane for quite some time.
25
Not
laps
sure
adrift now.
What their problem is. There goes the SRT Corvette.
And another car, another GT1 car, I think, filling in behind to again put a spacer between the two protagonists in GT2. A little bit wild there in the rear department of the Ferrari as it went round turn 1 again. The car that's filling in the gap, I think, is the number 40 car of Baz Linders.
It's the Mark VDS GT, and very distinctive silhouette against the lights, and hard not to recognise a Ford GT. And let's just drive past one of the fastest GT2 cars on the circuit. That's the difference between GT1 and GT2 at the moment, and look at it pull away.
Alex Muller just out of the pits with a reasonably heavy fuel load, though only 38 minutes still to run. Collard is towards the end of his stint, you would think now. The question is, can both of these GT2 battlers get away with the same set of tyres for the remainder of the race? With the extra weight on the Porsche, are they going to be able to make them last, or are they going to have to make the change?
Interesting conjecture there. I think Collard knows it's pit stop time, and he's given up persecuting and hounding Alvaro Barber Lopez, because I think for that very reason, it's not getting him anywhere, and he's given it his very best shot.
Barber, 3 wide coming down into that turn one again, and the Maserati has made the pass to lap the Mark VDS 4 GT. In turn, he's put the pass on the 51 car of Alvaro Barber Lopez, so order is restored.
And we were about to say, I think the number 60 car will use that set of tyres. I think Collard is just marking time now until his pit stop. He wasn't getting anywhere, and he was driving the wheels off the thing, wasn't he?
Shimano is doing well, though, as that car was spotted behind, although not in contention. Marco Holzer has been doing laps quicker in the 61 car than either of the two that he's currently following.
It's odd, really, that they haven't brought this car in, number 60, and because he's been stuck behind Alvaro Barber Lopez for so long, and because I'm convinced that Collard is quick up on that. I'm surprised
they may still be wanting to try and pressure him into a mistake, or to force him to overuse the tyres. They saw at the early part of the stint how hard Alvaro Barber Lopez was working to keep the car steady under brakes, and there is that number 61 car towed right up now onto the back of Collard. Collard won't want to let him by, that's for sure, but maybe he can ride shotgun for Collard, as behind them we've got Jimmy Bruni about half a minute behind that battle.
And Bruni, of course, has made his second pit stop. So half a minute, just think about this. A trip through pit lane is going to take you getting on for a minute. Whether you change tyres or not is a moot point. But Jimmy Bruni,
little contact there. And that was the back of the Ferrari being tipped out by the Porsche, but they both continue. Good car control there from Alvaro Barber Lopez to regain that. Maserati looks to make hay while the sun doesn't shine here at Adria, because it's long gone down over the horizon, flying past on power.
It's all so busy out there, and of course the Ferrari driver anxious to resist Collard, not sure what's going on. There's a Maserati coming through. Here it is again. Let's have a look. And Collard right up on the back, taps him, and then can't get round. So much quicker in the corner, that Porsche, I think, than the Ferrari, and I'm sure that on an empty track Collard would be long gone. That's why I can't believe they haven't brought him in. And I'm sure they will now. And I've completely forgotten where we were before that, all that excitement. Bruni is what I was saying. Bruni, of course, is right behind, and he's got a pit stop in his pocket, and he is looking very strong indeed as we join the battle for fourth place.
Yep, in GT1, the Maserati.
It's over.
That's all. We join, and we see the end of, very quickly dispatched, the battle of fourth place. Bert Longin not able to have any defence against Alex Muller's Maserati. Longin towards the end of a stint and due to come in and hand his car back to James Rouffier.
Let's have a recap here. 34 minutes to go. Bartels from Hazelman by 5 seconds. Bartels, we've just seen in traffic, is trying to get away from the Corvette.
That's the replay of the pass by Alex Muller.
Muller on his way as well. Formation finishing is what Maserati excel at. They said, you heard Muller say it at Silverstone, you heard him say it again when he was talking to Haley today, that as far as they are concerned, the race is in the second hour. That's the whole Maserati strategy in a few words.
This race has been going on since the hour ticked over. Now, was that
I think
51 into pit lane? Yes, I think we spotted that just in time as Collard comes through to complete another lap. He will do so in the lead of GT2.
Well, let's have a look, because he was in the 16s when he was at his quickest in that car. He was 18s when he finally gave up and let this man go. And he's now back into the 17s. Look at that.
Cherry red glow off the front disc there. Nicky Cadet will take that car over, and my goodness, how hard are these cars working and the drivers in them. Now there's a delay in getting that car restarted. He's punching the button.
No good, is it?
There's a bit of a, that's cost them seconds, which they can ill afford.
They normally go up on the jacks for a tyre change, and they have an auto start button which they press and hold, and then as soon as the suspension takes up the weight when it hits the ground, it auto starts, and it didn't seem to want to do it off the other button. But that is Jimmy Bruni, who was in third place and is now moving up the order. Collard's out there, and Bruni has done his pit stop, but he hasn't come out in front despite that little delay in pit lane. I was about to say, now that Alvaro Barber Lopez is out of that car, we need to track him down. And even if he can't speak any English, we need to pat him on the back on the camera.
Absolutely. This is the two AF Corsa cars running nose to tail. Cadet still ahead of Bruni at the moment, and Cadet running in third because Luigi Lucchini will have inherited second during that little pit stop by the AF Corsa car. So it's Collard from Lucchini, Porsche's 1 and 2, Ferraris from AF Corsa in third and fourth, and those two places likely to swap any time now, as Jimmy Bruni will want to exert his influence on the leaderboard.
Yes, it's probably not in the AF Corsa script for these cars to finish the wrong way round, especially after a little bit of a mistake at Silverstone cost the number 50, the reigning champions, all their points from the opening round of the series. So they do need to score top points here if they can, and they definitely don't need to finish behind their teammate, and they're not going to, are they? Look, here he goes.
Yes, no, I think hard to see from the position of the lights, but it looked as though the 51 car was going to make way, and does indeed. No opposition there from the 51 car of Nicky Cadet, which will now drop to fourth place next time through the timing beams.
Mike Hazeman has lost about 6 or 7 seconds in the traffic to Michael Bartels, and is now trailing him by that margin, and it was close together.
We saw a little tap from Manuel Collard onto the back of the Ferrari. He will get a warning for that, but not a penalty as such. Just we'd like you to know that we've got an eye on you, Mr. Collard.
Yes, I think that obviously means that someone in race control has decided that that was a professional foul. Tap you on the back and then slip past while you're going, what on earth was that?
Yeah, I think that person making the judgment would have been Jürgen Barth himself, of course, a massively influential driver with Porsche.
Absolutely, Jürgen Barth no stranger to all this stuff, so he'll recognise it when he sees it. And as we ride in the cockpit of the Maserati, we have found Alvaro Barber Lopez in pit lane.
Alvaro, what a fantastic battle that was to watch. You've now handed the baton over to Nicky to maintain that position.
Yes, I pushed a lot in the first, but later I was a problem with in the rear, because I have a lot overstay, so I cannot to push a lot more. And Porsche pushed me, and so I am happy because when I started my run, I think I was the fastest in the track. So it's fantastic for me. The second race in the championship, so I'm happy. I hope to finish Nicky. I think I can finish in the top 5 and the top 3.
I wish you luck. Thank you, Alvaro.
Give that man a rub down with a cool towel, because that was proper racing.
Sterling work, wasn't it? Great battle, and the battle for Collard still continues, because he's still out there and has at the moment a gap of about 28 seconds back to Luigi Lucchini, who, like Collard, still owes us a pit stop and is in second place in class, with Nicky Cadet was running in third last time they crossed the timing beam, but Bruni has taken that place, of course, so he's now in third. Cadet in fourth over the line now, and if we do a little mental arithmetic, the gap from Collard back to Bruni is about 42 seconds.
That's what I made it as well, so for the first time I've got a sum right. That isn't, I'm not sure, but I don't think that's long enough for Collard to hand over to Westbrook and come out in the lead. I think that could well put this race in the hands of Jimmy Bruni. If Pro Speed need tyres for the Porsche, then it's all over.
They can't afford it. They can't afford it. They've got to. I think they've got to take the gamble and leave the tyres on that are on there now. We haven't seen anybody doing tyre stops, tyre changes in the second round of stops, and I can't believe that Pro Speed would give the race away, which is what they would be doing. They have to gamble at this point. We're looking at number 51. That is Nicky Kadei. He's currently running 4th in class, and a little back now of Jimmy Bruni, who's pulled out 2.5 seconds since we saw that pass happen. Maserati coming into the picture to put yet another lap on them.
We've seen a little bit of lappery, and it's more difficult in the dark, even though, as Graham pointed out, different coloured headlights between GT1 and GT2, and you can see for yourself there's no way of telling which is which. It's just a big blaze of light.
Top 3 in GT1 still owe us pit stops, whereas the Maserati we were just watching, and indeed watch again, number 2, Alex Muller, has had his final stop. Michael Bartel's down into pit lane now as we speak, and will hand the lead over to Mike Hazelman's on the road. The Hazelman's follows in, so he will not inherit the lead. That might go to Guillaume Moreau, depends if he comes in as well. He's about 15 seconds back of these two. There is that final pit stop. Michael Bartel's having handed back over to Andrea Bertolini. Bertolini being given the wind-up sign. There is the number 4 car. Mike Hazelman's out, Kumpen in. Slam the door, wind the thing up, get it on the go. Come on, Anthony, quick.
I think they're all struggling with the restart when it hasn't got that auto start off the jacks. I think they've all got very hot engines, a little bit of heat sink while the car's stationary.
There is Bertolini, and in the background of that last shot you saw the headlights of the number 4 Corvette lighting up as well.
Just looking around the circuit, you can't see, can you, from here? But the timing says Anthony Kumpen is in the car and is in the lead, but of course he isn't.
They cross the timing beam in pit lane, so it's Guillaume Moreau who will sharpen his lead the next time through, unless he, of course, hits pit lane as well, in which case it'll be all change again.
But there's several drivers in GT1, Longin and Luke Hines, who owe us pit stops. Collard still owes us a pit stop. Lucchini in second place in GT2. Bruni doesn't. In fact, the rest of the GT2 field have got it made, apart from Kenneth Hayer in the number 78 car, who does also owe us a pit stop and a driver change.
So it's going to be the run to the flag when these last few stops have been completed. Fewer than 26 minutes remain.
This is going to shake down in favour of the Maserati team, I feel sure. I think that Carl Wendlinger and Ryan Sharp would have made this a bit of a different story. But this is P2 coming towards us now in this big flash of light. It is Anthony Kumpen.
Yep.
And let's just see what is an effective second place.
Yes, currently 3rd on the screen because Moreau yet to make the stop.
Gap 6 seconds between what will be first and will be second when Moreau goes in to hand over to Xavier Masson. So let's see down in pit lane if we can find out how Mike Hazelman's enjoyed his chase, his stern chase of the Maseratis with Haley.
Mike, you had a great win here last year, and now you and Anthony are fighting to take a win home with you this weekend.
Yeah, I did, I don't know, 35 laps, but it was really almost over the limit every lap to keep it on the track. We just lose against the Maseratis. It doesn't suit our tires here, so the best what we could do was second. I tried all I could, so that's it.
Good luck. Thank you, Mike.
Well, the tyres are the same. They're both on Michelin, but as we said, the Maserati very much a mid-engine car and very much kinder to its tyres as a result, especially the rear end.
And in a nice touch of symmetry, last time we had a Maserati sandwiched by 2 Corvettes. This time we have a Corvette sandwiched by the 2 Maseratis. Turn and turn about.
Turn and turn about. Morrow's still out there, and we are, 24 minutes away from the finish. So this is going to be second place for Anthony Kumpen. And I think he's lost a little bit more time on his first flying lap. Of course, Bertolini's been out there a little bit longer. He is going to have to work hard. You saw the state of Mike Hazelman. You heard what he said about on the limit all the time, just to keep it on the track. And Anthony Kumpen, of course, super fit, as we've said. He's come to it fresh. And here we are back in the GT2 squall.
Yep. This is Matteo Malicelli at the rear of these two Ferraris coming down towards you. The man ahead of him, Nicky Cadei, in the second AF Corsa car, is being caught, and the gap last time through was less than a second. You can see just how close they are. Collard, of course, still owes us a stop, as does Lucchini, so 1 and 2 in class are still there.
And Collard, I think, is struggling a bit. 1:17's his time. Everybody else is well off as well, aren't they? 17s, 19s, 18s.
He's keeping pace with Jimmy Bruni, and the longer he can go, the less fuel they're going to have to put in that car, of course. So let's see how short they can make that pit stop. It'll be the driver change that probably takes as long as the fuel.
Indeed, it's going to have to be quick, but Richard Westbrook, different size and shape to Emmanuel Collard, so they'll have to fiddle with that. But even so, a short fuel stop is what they need. It's too late for tyres now, and in comes the SRT Corvette.
I think that was the Le Grand Fond Corvette.
Was it?
Oh no, beg your pardon. No, you're right, it was number 3. Busy. This is a terrific view of the circuit from high up above the buildings at pit entrance. Busy circuit. Look at these battles going on down the field. This is still looking at Matteo Malicelli. Big lock up there from Nicky Cadei, running a little bit wide. That's all that Malicelli needs, is it? No, he tucked the nose up the inside, but Cadei able to get the power down again and rebuild the speed he'd lost under that heavy braking. This is the SRT Corvette pit stop. Away goes James Rouffier, GT3 champion of last year. Back to GT2.
77 is the car you're looking at now. Malicelli is in 5th place.
Yep, battling over 4th with Nicky Cadei. And of course, this might just translate into podiums if how close do you need to be? Just right up the tailpipes of the AF Corsa car.
And I think the brake balance, the brake bias on the AF Corsa car is just a slightly tilted too far to the back, because you keep seeing big lockups at the back end of that car.
Yep.
Either driver, they've both been doing it.
Massive pressure on again, and both cars running very wide as they exit the last corner on the pit straight. They're already down the pit straight and into turn 1. They've got company coming aboard with the number 40 car of Bas Linders. And while we're talking 4GTs, just for a second as this battle continues, quick word out for Thomas Biaggi, who has set his car as fast as lap 1:14.4, quicker than they've managed in the Mark VDS car. That's the silver 4GT, just nosing up the inside of Malicelli for a moment to defuse this battle between the two GT cars for 4th in class.
Or give Malicelli a toe. That's the Luc Alphon Corvette.
That's the Luc Alphon Corvette coming in from what was 2nd position. Be able to see what they can do to maintain a place in the final run to the flag. 20 minutes only remain. Xavier Marson, the Dutch driver who came into the series full-time for the first time last season, impressed greatly, takes over the experienced Luc Alphon team's car.
And let's just look at the times. Bertolini leads it, and I think Anthony Kumpen has lost a little bit more time to Andrea Bertolini. We're riding with him in traffic now, but the Maserati 1:14 on the last lap, Kumpen 1:15, and I think the gap between 1st and 2nd is growing.
And the gap between Collard and Bruni has stayed fairly stable. We calculated 42 seconds, it's 42.4 last time through, with Collard still to stop, but now nobody between him and Jimmy Bruni on the road.
And Richard Westbrook, of course, waiting to take over. Who's that in the pit lane? Is that Collard? I think it is. I think I just saw a Porsche going in. So this is the stop that is going to make all the difference.
There are tyres out. If they've used them, they've lost the race.
Slow, so they're not putting fuel. Oh, yes, they are.
Yep, fuel going in already. Collard clambering out of the car will help Westbrook in. This is absolutely crucial.
Painstakingly slow, isn't it? 15 seconds already stationary, as well as the 20-odd seconds that it takes to drive through. This is Jimmy Bruni, and as you can see, he's on his way back towards the pit lane. That was the pit lane entrance. He's just passed. He's coming out onto the start-finish straight now.
There's Westbrook
and he's out in front.
And he's got to get up to speed as well. There's a GT1 car between them.
Less than a minute in the pit lane in total. And so how did 42 seconds, John said that must have been a very quick exit there. Pit must be very near the pit exit.
Good job all round, I think, by Pro Speed, having to eschew that option of putting the tyres on. The real question now is, how are the tyres on that Porsche? Because Collard had to push very hard in his pursuit of Alvaro Barber Lopez, which we marvelled at for an entire stint.
He didn't spare the rubber, did he?
Not at all. But here's Jimmy Bruni, having had a tough race of their own. Nicky Kadei is a further 10 seconds behind, and Malicelli a further 2 adrift of them.
We need a lap from Richard Westbrook to see how far he is ahead of Jimmy Bruni, and we need to look at his first lap time as well and see whether Bruni is closing or not. On the outlap, he almost certainly has brought the gap down.
Yeah,
but here he comes across the line now, and we'll see what the story is when we get the Aya Corsa car.
Have to get his eye back in the darkness too.
And
that's the answer. Second car of the 2 there.
Yep, and it is 7.7 seconds. So Jimmy Bruni's got 17 minutes to make up 7.7 seconds. I think he probably can, if anyone can.
Well,
but let's speak to the outgoing driver, the hero of the hour.
Oh, what a fantastic performance out there. What a great battle it was to watch. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was the problem on this track. It's really difficult to overtake. And when I restart for my stint with the new set, I was stuck behind the 51. He was slower, but I couldn't overtake, so I lost a lot of time behind him. But now I think we are leading again, so it's fine.
The Porsche certainly seems to be taking to this track, though.
Yeah, it's a really slow track. You need traction, and I think the Porsche is really good for this. And also on tires, we save a lot the tires, so it seems that it's a good track for us.
And how are the tyres feeling?
Very good, very good. I didn't push too much because I was stuck behind the overcar, but I think for Richard, the last 20 minutes will be okay.
Thank you, Maggie.
Well, there's the understatement of the century. I didn't push too much.
No, okay, fine, we'll believe you. And who thousands wouldn't. Jimmy Bruni doesn't believe you because he's taken 9/10 out of Richard Westbrook last time round, and the gap is down to 6.9 seconds.
Well, Richard Westbrook, of course, just on his outlaps, so we'll need him to come up to speed. We are looking there at the number 19, Luc Alphonse Aventure, and in fact we're in the cockpit with Xavier Masson now, 4th place, and a long way back on 3rd place, which is Alex Muller, and the number 2 Maserati. In front of him is Anthony Kumpen, who has taken about half a second off Andrea Bertolini since before that little round of pit stops for the number 60 car.
The gap first to second, the second to third almost identical at about 8.5 seconds. And Xavier Marson, I think, probably too far back to have an impact on the podium this weekend. Great inboard shots, though, from the number 19 car of Xavier Marson coming up to complete that lap. This is where we'll get to find what the true gap is between himself and 3rd place, and it's just a shade over half a minute.
Properly dark out there, as you can see from the driving seat, and you can see how hard the brakes are working here. They don't get to any higher temperatures here, but they never get cool, and that's what really wears them out. That could become a factor later on, but we'll see. We've only got 15 minutes on the clock, so there isn't a long time for the brakes to be an issue. And as you say, Graham, it's a little bit spread out now. And what we want to see is how far behind Bertolini Anthony Kumpen is going to be, and how far behind this man is the Ferrari going to be. Kumpen 9.4, the gap's grown again.
And the answer to the GT2 battle that we've been looking at with Richard Westbrook in the Porsche was just 1/10 shaved off last time through by Jimmy Bruni. So still making progress, but not enough. He needs to be pairing half a second a lap off if he's going to get through this job.
Yes, and he's got about 13 or 14 laps to go before the checkered flag will be unfurled. So with the gap now standing at 7 seconds.
7 seconds, yeah.
You can see for yourself that he's got a get it on a little bit quicker than that or settle for second. But after Silverstone, that might be a result.
There is Jimmy Bruni buckling down to the job in hand, however. He won't give it up until it's too late. The gap has gone out, though. A better lap that time by Westbrook than by Bruni, and sometimes it's down to traffic, sometimes it's just down to not being able to quite get it through the corner in the way you want it every time through. It's consistency that counts at this stage. Bertolini reels off yet another one. 85 laps in the book, and 1:14 dead, so not hanging about.
Here's the thing, though. You were talking about Xavier Masson, and he's the man with the fastest lap of the race so far. So...
yes, he has been. When they were first out in that car, Masson set that time early on.
GT2 Ferrari moving aside for the white headlights of the race leader, the number one Vitaphone Maserati. Michael Bartels drove the middle stint. Andrea Bertolini is there and looking very cool indeed, with a growing margin now. It's just over 10 seconds on Anthony Kumpen. So the Maserati's still got plenty of tyre life and still driving away. Not by much, just a little bit every lap, and that's all he needs.
Maserati flying through the field, and again coming up on the back of yet another GT2 car to be dealt with. Traffic a constant hazard.
Every one of these passes is a little bit of a nightmare for the race leader, because the race is now with just under 12 minutes on the countdown clock. It's Andrea Bertolini's to lose. I don't think anybody else, not Anthony Kumpen, can't win it from where he is. Andrea Bertolini could lose it, and all it would take is a GT2 car to stray in front of him. One spin and that 10-second gap will have been eaten up by Anthony Kumpen, and of course that will be through into the lead. Every time he comes up behind a slower car, Andrea Bertolini is going to think about all of those things and then make the decisive and very clean move and get through.
Anthony Kumpen there in second place and lapping within a tenth the same pace as Bertolini last time round. The gap is though 10 seconds, and I'm sure Bertolini can manage that gap from the front. Alex Muller still thick end of 9 seconds behind Kumpen, so no real attack coming from that quarter. GT1 looks fairly settled, but appearances, as we all know all too well, can be deceptive. Richard Westbrook has extended his gap over Jimmy Bruni up to 8 seconds over the last couple of laps, improving in each time. Nicky Kadei holds third, so we have Corsa second and third in the GT2 class as we speak, but a historic victory for Porsche here at Adria on the cards.
Porsche definitely looking stronger this season than last. A lot of changes to that car, and it is the car that it should have been last year, I think.
Yes, I think Porsche got caught out when the 430 Ferrari first appeared, and they never quite got back to where they were, but now they're showing signs of having made the necessary changes, and this year's iteration of the GT3 RSR, which runs in GT2 class, is an absolute scorcher of a car. As is this now long in the tooth but very dear to my heart lady Maserati MC12.
We're riding with the race leader, looking at the we're on the 2 car there, I beg your pardon, looking at the dashboard there in the dark, and it is dark. There's no sign of a clue. I can't see the driver's crash helmet from here, but there's the number 2 on the dashboard now as we run under light. You can see from that there are some portions of this circuit which do have lights, and some portions which, like this one, where you run into darkness, which is a continual challenge for the drivers because they keep going from dark to light, and they've got to deal with all those circumstances. The headlights are illuminating a pathetically small amount of racetrack when you're doing 200 kilometres an hour.
Jimmy Bruni getting the better of Westbrook that time round.
Back end of that Maserati, just starting to move around a bit.
Yeah, just stepping out a bit. Oh, and who's that? That's Malicelli. Matteo Malicelli, having got us up as far as 6th in class, has come to rest in the gravel, unfortunately. Now, will that bring out
it's right on the exit, isn't it? Here's a replay, and he backed it into the gravel trap. but it is right on the exit, and they'll want that towed away, but I don't think it'll bring out a safety car. 8.5 minutes, I think they've got a rope on that and have it off. There's lots of cranes around here. It's a small circuit and they're used to this sort of thing.
Malicelli walking disconsolately away from the car, so he'll not be taking any part in its recovery.
Mike Hazeman talking to Mrs. Kumpen there as the flags wave on this corner, and I can't quite see where it is. Oh yes, I can. I know where it is exactly. Yes, it's here. It is indeed on turn 6, on the exit of turn 6, and there is the tow rope
down towards the end of the lap before the hairpin that brings them back through the loop towards the end of the lap.
So waved yellows there, and everyone's got to be careful, because if you don't make allowances for that, you can be penalised. Nobody really wants to have their position taken away from them with 7 minutes remaining in the race.
No overtaking either, of course, at that point. Now, does this give an opportunity to those to just throw the dice once more and risk the wrath of the officials by keeping their toe in a little bit harder through that section than those who they're pursuing? I'm thinking of Jimmy Bruni.
Yeah, 6 seconds behind Richard Westbrook now.
I'm thinking of Alex Muller.
Yes, who is 7 seconds behind Anthony Kumpen. We'll watch those gaps, because they shouldn't really improve in that sector, should they?
Not ideally.
The message from race control or from our truck is that car 61, which is Marco Holzer, has just set his best sector time under the yellow flags, which is not really good behaviour, is it?
Their bath too much, might it? But
no.
Marco Holzer, however, has impressed up to that point, because he's turned in some absolutely stonking laps in that Pro Speed competition car that he shares with Darrell O'Young.
So it's green in sector 1 and 2, but sector 3 is the naughty one, and we've got just 6.5 minutes to go after 90 laps.
Nicky Cadet making a wave again for Maserati to put a further lap on him. He won't be concerned about that.
And it's James Ruffier in the number 3 car that we're looking at there. Is that our race leader? It's a Maserati for sure. That is the 3 Corvette we were just looking at. Who is behind Ruffier?
James Ruffier at the moment.
Who is behind Ruffier? It must be Bertolini bouncing back. Fairly bouncing. Even the back brakes are red hot now on the Corvette. And the errant Ferrari's gone. The yellows have been withdrawn, so we're back to full speed racing. Jimmy Bruni is, let me see, as Westbrook goes over the line, 5 seconds behind Westbrook. And if he keeps that up, he could well be right behind him when they get to the checkered flag, but I think it will still be right behind him.
Yep, just 5.5 minutes remain now. Off to complete another car goes James Ruffier.
Got about 4 laps left on this race. We said 96 was what we were expecting. That'll take us to 95. That's about bang on. We might get an extra lap because of the leader's position on the racetrack when the clock says 0. So it might well be absolutely 96 laps around this circuit. And that's just enough for Jimmy Bruni to take a second lap out of Richard Westbrook. And he's not doing that, is he? He's a bit, he was 8/10 on the last lap quicker than Westbrook. So it's working, but it's not enough time. He's going to run out of race and still be in second place.
Now, Luigi Lucchini being captioned there, but they've had 2 stops, which should put Martin Ragginger back into that car. And looking at the pace of it, at a 1:16.9 at this stage of the race, I would have thought that probably is Martin Ragginger in 11th place overall, 5th in class, and looking to make up a place on Marco Holzer.
Is that Richard Westbrook flashing his headlights?
Yes.
Yes, it is. At the GT1 car in front of him.
Yep.
Richard Westbrook very much in a big hurry. He's being caught by Jimmy Bruni at a little bit less than a second a lap, and he's being held up in some of the corners, as you can see, by the Corvette in front of him, and he wants past the number 19, and he's not getting his way, is he?
No, he won't. He did a second a lap last time round, a second quicker than that GT1 car ahead of him, and he cannot afford to be held up by anybody. Bizarre to see blue flags being waved in the GT1 car to allow the GT2 one to go through. Marston clearly struggling with his car at this stage in the race, whereas Westbrook, with Manuel Collard telling us that he's managed to look after the tyres in spite of his massive battle with Alvaro Barber Lopez. Richard Westbrook's car looks to be in much better shape. The more nimble and lighter Porsche doing good job around here, but he needs to have the Corvette let him through. Of course, the Corvette has got much more grunt in a straight line, and as soon as they get through the corners, he just floors it and away he goes.
What Richard Westbrook doesn't want is for this to all end in tears, because Jimmy Bruni was a second slower on the last lap. So despite being held up by the Corvette, you could see the Corvette just whoosh past on power, and as the race leader comes in to join the party, you can see the Corvette pulling away and now getting flashed by Andrea Bertolini, who wants to. Westbrook's too far back. He's lost a huge amount of ground to it on the start-finish straight, and he's now right back up behind Andrea Bertolini, and outside goes Masson, and Bertolini's free. What happened to Westbrook in all that is he's still tucked up behind it. No, he's through. That's Bertolini. That's where he's overtaken the GT1 Corvette.
Corvette of Xavier Marson, not able to keep that car in a straight line and struggling with it.
Funny enough, down at this circuit 1 year ago, we were laughing with Emmanuel Collard, so you're not supposed to overtake the GT1 cars, but nobody had told him, and he kept trying. Here's Bruni chasing him down. What's the gap now? 5.6 seconds. 2 minutes. There's 2 laps left, so he's not going to catch him unless Collard has a nasty, and he's now got a clear bit of track in front of him. So it is Westbrook and Collard in number 60, looking good for the GT2, when Andrea Bertolini's got 8.5 seconds on Anthony Kumpen, and I think that's Bertolini just slacking off a little bit there.
Yeah,
and Kumpen still going the same pace. 14.5 for Bertolini, 14.9 it isn't.
Last time through for Kumpen, but 14.4 the lap before, so he's lost half a second in traffic somewhere there. There's Jimmy Bruni doing, having his turn at getting past Xavier Martin. The Luc Alphand car clearly not doing a good job around the corners anymore, but still having the straight line speed to frustrate the heck out of the GT2 car, who wants to go on with his personal battle, and it would be a personal battle if they got together with Richard Westbrook. But 6 seconds almost now the gap. Well, Westbrook's cleared this particular problem, and it's now Bruni's to face.
This is Anthony Kumpen in the white-yellow Corvette, 8.9 seconds. He's lost a couple of tenths of a on this lap. So Andrea Bertolini looking fairly safe. 1 minute on the clock. Where is Bertolini? He's somewhere in the third sector at the moment. So he's going to have to do another lap after this. And he might then just be shown the checkered flag. So we might be on lap 95 when the checkered flag actually drops.
Yep, here he is coming up to complete that 95th lap, so he'll go on to lap 96, and that will be race distance, because this is the last lap, as the caption at the top of your screen tells you. Andrea Bertolini just needs to complete the next 2.7 Ks, and he's going to come home and taste the champagne.
He's got it done. Kumpen 9.9. Westbrook, the gap is 6.7 back to Bruni in the number 50 car. And it's nice to see that AF Course's Ferrari 430 and Pro Speed's Porsche GT3 RSR are so evenly matched this year. That's what we wanted to see all last year. We've seen proper racing today, and we're going to another circuit like this next time at Oschersleben in Germany. There's going to be more proper racing from GT2 and from GT1. But at the moment, it is looking like a good day on home ground for the Maserati. The Vitefan team, of course, are Germans, but the Maserati built not a million miles away from here, and this is very much a home win for the Italian maker.
Very proudly Italian too, as it is going to be Porsche ahead of Ferrari, so a German team victory in GT1, a German car victory in GT2. There is Bertolini taking the checkered flag.
Well, they look very happy, don't they?
Delighted Michael Bartels, his championship campaign well and truly on track.
Yes, he's looking for retention of his title. That's Emmanuel Collard, and he has every right to look happy. That was a monster middle stint from Emmanuel Collard. Here's the tricky question. Man of the match today, Collard or Alvaro Barber Lopez? Oh, pick the bones out of that.
Yeah, I think purely on the basis that he doesn't have the experience at this level of GT racing, or indeed any level of GT racing. This one for me goes to Alvaro Baba Lopez. I think he played an absolute blinder in holding Collard back, didn't get phased when he got that tap from the rear, and held it all together extraordinarily well.
Emmanuel Collard did what Emmanuel Collard is supposed to do, and yes, Alvaro Baba Lopez above and beyond the call of duty, and above and beyond the call of duty for all those people who've been watching this streaming as far afield as Canada. The guys at Giveaway streaming, so we've had something like 1,500 people on all the time, so there must be nothing happening in Canada, eh? Again.
Well, it's earlier in the day there, remember, we're going out Saturday night
yes.
throughout Europe, so Saturday night normally a lot of people are out partying. Maybe they'll be setting the videos and watching it later. Indeed,
and they've got a treat in store, so if you know anybody who has set the recorder, don't tell them what happened. But the news is that Westbrook and Collard have done it again, which is very good news for Porsche and the GT2 Championship, which has been dominated by Ferrari and in particular by AF Corsa, and now they've got a fight on their hands if they want to hang on to their title. And as Graham just said, Maserati have just put their title retention back on track, haven't they?
Yes, and the more so because erstwhile championship leaders before we had this result were Carl Vendinger and Ryan Sharp, of course, doing a DNF this time, and no points for them with their early drive shaft breakage.
A little bit of team spirit among the Maserati boys as they celebrate what has been a pretty clockwork win, really. They haven't put a foot wrong. They had some problems at Silverstone, but being the own Maserati, they've just overcome that. And they've done it on track as well, because we haven't seen any pit stop magic. None of that happened in the pit stops, which we've seen so many times before. It all happened on the racetrack.
Out on the circuit, there was action aplenty right the way through the field, from the head of GT1 to pretty much the foot of GT2. Here's the overall.
Yes, indeed. Bartels from Bertolini. Bartels and Bertolini from Hazeman and Kumpen in number 4 by that 10-second gap in the end. Muller and Ramos, third place, not bad considering they had to come in and play a drive-through, wasn't it, not a stop-go. Masson and Moreau struggling to fall through the problem, I think.
And Ramos and Muller will be pleased with that result after their huge disappointment at Silverstone where that wheel came adrift.
GT2, you can see second place for Bruni and Vielander in 8th overall, with the Porsche of Collard and Westbrook 7th overall, and in the end 6.9 seconds ahead of them. Good result for the 51 crew, Nicky Cadet and Alvaro Baba. That was a tremendous result. And if you were at AF Corsa, if you were Antonio, the boy at AF Corsa in charge of things, you'd be very encouraged with that performance and that result, because you've got a whole team you can draw on, haven't you?
Yep, there's Miguel Ramos. He it was who got stranded out just past Club Corner in Silverstone with the wheel jammed up in the wheel arch and not able even to drive it off the track, occasioning the safety car.
Yes, it got stuck on its belly pan, didn't it? And he couldn't see what had happened, didn't know what had happened, and all he could hear was it dragging on the ground, and he just had to stop.
And the differential spinning madly, trying to get one wheel turning when the other one wasn't attached.
Yes. And pit lane, always in Italy, eh?
Mm-hmm.
The pit lane suddenly gets crowded after the checkered flag has dropped, and it's coming up to 10 o'clock here in Italy, and it's not the last checkered flag of the day either. There's more racing at Adria. We've had quite a good crowd since the weather turned out not to be so awful after all, and the circuit still teeming with people, as you can see. This is just GT2, the final positions. As you saw, Collard ahead of the 50 car, and 51 finishing in third place. Not a bad fourth place for the 61 for the second Pro Speed car. That'll help them in the team championship. Lucchini and the number 97, which Martin Rosinger put on pole and drove so well, eventually finishing in fifth place. Look at what this has done to the championship points table, though. Bartels and Bertolini at the top, and that's not a bad position for Mike Hazeman and Anthony Kumpen, is it? They are jointly second in the series. Masson and Moreau behind that, and then Carl Vendinger dropping down from top of the table with Ryan Sharp, simply because he watched today's race pretty much from the sideline. The car took the start, broke, and came in at the end of the opening lap.
Yeah, disappointment for the K plus K team, but a good result certainly for the number 4 crew. Hasemans and Kumpen got 4th place in Silverstone, 2nd place here. That's the sort of consistency that can help towards titles.